Hey everybody, welcome to this week's edition of Pickin' and Puttin'. Dr. Z here. This week, Dr. or Liberty Bill's on sabbatical and taking a little time for himself, so I'm here by myself. So we'll have a short discussion today where I just want to cover a new development in the diagnosis of concussion and serially following CTE. And it's a test that can be also used across the board on any contact sport, colleges, professional, middle school, high school, whatever. And I think you'll find it extremely interesting. It was developed by two gentlemen out of South Florida. One retired from the perfume industry, so to speak, and the other one, oral surgeon and also noted juris doctor. So I'll go into that in great detail. I want to do a quick shout out today. My shout outs are to Luke Kuechly and Dan Morgan, who were both middle linebackers for the Carolina Panthers in the last 20 years, who both had great careers, were excellent middle linebackers, and figured out that concussions could take away their life in later years and develop CTE possibly in the future. So they both retired early. And I think that may become a more of a norm until we have better protection for the athletes. That being said, my song today that I want to talk about is, you'll all know it. It's Pink Floyd, and it's Another Brick in the Wall. And I kind of felt like, well, one more brick in the wall, one more assistance for making a diagnosis. So that's how I picked this song. It was written in 1979 as a rock opera, believe it or not. It had three parts, and that just had to do with how the writing went around. It was written by a bassist for the group named Roger Waters, and the bricks, as he said, were events in his life which propelled him to build a proverbial rock wall around himself. So the song is meant to be satirical. In fact, it's a metaphor for the wall, the self-isolating barrier we build around ourselves over the course of our lives. So it's, to me, it also, the brick in the wall is building something to protect our young and older athletes from concussions and development later CTE. But that being said, there's an interesting part about it. If you remember the Beatles, and they used to say, well, you played the, I can't remember, White Album, whatever. You played it backwards, and you'd hear, some special weird thing. Well, in this one, if you play it backwards on the album, it says, "Congratulations, you've just discovered the secret message," which I think is hilarious. So that was Roger Waters' way of sticking it to the people as time went on. Well, what I want to talk to you about today, briefly, and this may sound a little bit like an infomercial, but it's really not. Dr. Bob Fish, who's a Ohio State grad, that's why I have that in the background, and an oral surgeon and doctor of law who practiced in South Florida for many years, and became friends with a gentleman named Ira Schneider, who was retired and lives in South Florida, but was from the business side of developing sense and understood this concept of testing for the loss of smell or taste. Well, Neuroscan, which you'll see right here, is a simple taste and smell test. It has four parts. It's patented and trademarked by the gentleman. But what it is in a 4 to 5 minute, you get a baseline on a person. And in a 4 to 5 minute test, you do two tests of scent and of taste on the lips and tongue. And if you have a baseline and acutely an athlete comes out and has lost that, then that's an objective piece of evidence pointing towards a concussion, and the athlete can be held out. You can follow this data along, and when it improves, they can be readmitted to the fields. That's my understanding that Gene Smith, the athletic director at Ohio State, and the facilities there are going to do a trial and try this sample, this device, and see how it helps. It's kind of, to me as a physician, a no-brainer. because what you're doing is you're adding a piece of information. There's no invasiveness to it with the patient or the athlete, and you can quickly do it and have data to follow along. You get a baseline on everybody at the beginning, and anymore they do baseline cardiac evaluations, MRIs, all sorts of things of these athletes, and especially in these bigger programs, Alabama, Ohio State, Florida, Georgia, whatever. So this is just another little piece of information that you can add. It's quite simple, not it's cost effective, and I think you'll find that me as a physician and athletic programs will find it to be quite beneficial. It's got four, as I said, four concentrated flavors and scents that engage both olfactory and gustatory senses. And you can quickly determine if there's a defect from the baseline and then trace future deficits. The amazing part about this, as Dr. Fish and Mr. Schneider went into Medline and started reviewing this, they were developing this along when everybody was losing sense of taste and smell and that with COVID. And they realized that they went through the diagnoses and there were tons of other diagnoses where an early loss of sense of taste and smell arose in these patients. And for example, MS, coronavirus, Alzheimer's, Parkinsonism, dementia, ALS, cystic fibrosis are among many documented in Medline search, metastatic breast cancer, certain type. I mean, it's amazing where this loss of sense of smell and taste has gone. And this is a simple test, and it may allow the diagnosis of something like that years in advance, and therefore folks will have that on their radar as treatments get developed that they can use for whatever that disease process is. But that being said, I think it's an amazing addition to the armamentarium of any athletic trainer, high school professional, otherwise. And I think it should be available to the practice field, locker rooms, and on the sidelines of every major college, high school, middle school sport. I just can't see the downside to it, and I think you'll find that if you review this, you'll agree with me, at least you folks in the medical world and sports medicine. The developers, as I said, are Ira Schneider and Dr. Bob Fish, DDS-JD. And Bob's background was he was an expert in dealing with neural reconstruction related to smell and taste. So obviously he's dealt with this his whole life and really is into the process. So I think it's a great addition. You can contact Dr. Fish. It's Dr. Fish at Contemporary HS.com, or direct phone to their company is 954-232-9090. I think you'll find it something that is worth investigating. Here it is, Neuro-Scan, simple box. It's very simple. There are videos online, YouTube. A young lady describes how to use it. Very short, very simple. I want you to look into it, and I think it's a great addition to sports medicine. Well, to close out today's short podcast, I just want to say to everybody, we're coming to your city. Here comes college football. There's Ohio Stadium packed in the background. Looking forward to Notre Dame up there. I know those folks are. And I've got a quote to finish out today's episode that I think is germane. It's from the most famous neurosurgeon of the first half of the 20th century in the United States, named Dr. Harvey Cushing. And Dr. Cushing's quote was, "A physician is obligated to consider more than a diseased organ, more than even the whole man. He must view the man in his world." And how appropriate is that when you talk about viewing athletes in their participation on the field as you see behind me. I wish all of you a wonderful coming week, and I hope you look into this product if you have any interest. I think it's coming to your city in the near future, and it's an excellent addition to any sports medicine program in the United States and around the world. Lacrosse, soccer, you name it. So tune in, look it up. Appreciate your taking the time to listen to me today. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the platforms, and we'll look forward to seeing you at our next visit. Thanks for visiting. Dr. Z here, picking and putt. Later, Gator.